So what Michael's father used to teach me wasn't so much asset and liability, but what he would do is he'd pick up financial statements and he would look for a thing called cash flow. He'd look for the pattern. And he said this, here's a job, cash would come in and cash would go out. And if a person did this over a lifetime, this was the cash flow pattern of somebody who was poor. That was a poor person's cash flow pattern. Money comes in and money goes out. It's not so much what you do over a day, but what you do over a lifetime. Then the next pattern was this. You get a job, cash comes in. Goes into the liability column, paying for a mortgage, the BMW, the boat, the summer house, the trip to Disneyland. And it goes out as expense. And this here is the cash flow pattern of the great middle class. So take a look at it right now. Those are broad generalities. Which pattern do you fit into? Now, I'd like to take some time to go into the cash flow pattern of the middle class and show you what's happening, because they're the most interesting. I have a friend in San Diego. My Chinese father would say to him, he was California rich. And what California rich meant was the guy he was in real estate, he had very high income. But every time he got money from commissions, did he go into the asset column or the liability column? He'd go liability. Guy has $1 million house. He has a BMW. He has a Mercedes. He has a Jeep. He has Armani shirts. His wife has lots of jewelry. And they go out to dinner a lot. Do you know people like this? And then what happened being in the California real estate market, so this guy here like this is the pattern. It looks like this all day long. Now, I go to the gym a lot, and what this looks like to me of the great middle class is looks like one of those treadmills. They get up every day, they go to work, they go to work, they go to work. They're working hard, but going what? Nowhere. Because their liabilities keep them at work. They never get ahead. Then what happens is, all of a sudden, this happened to my friend, is the California real estate market tanked. In other words, he lost this. Now, just because you have no income, does a bank care that you can't pay your liabilities? Do they? No. So right now, I'm waiting for him because I want to pick up his BMW at 5 cents on the dollar. What's that song? That's what friends are for? So I see, the reason I'm concerned about this is I see it already here in KL. As your income goes up, I see people at that mall buying all the Rolexes, which I have one, $3,500 Brioni suits, all the good stuff. Those are not called assets, those are called doodads. And the worst part about it is they buy them on credit. So that's why the great American middle class is in such great trouble right now. They lose their job and they're shot. Now, the last pattern I will show you here is this. So we have the poor, the middle class, and this is the cash flow pattern of the rich. Do you notice a difference? The reason I don't work is because I have spent the last few years of my life buying assets, not doodads. And the irony of it is as my stock market moves up, my real estate market moves up, this sucker just gets richer and richer and richer. It actually goes like this and like this, but it spins right inside. So, what's happening in America, and I'll bring this up as I wrote in my book, You Want to Be Rich and Happy, Don't Go to School, is finally, and I wrote that in 1990, is they're finally attacking the school system. Because the school system is not preparing kids for real life. What's happening in America today is there's no such thing as job security. 50% right now of the people of my age, the baby boomer generation, 50% have no medical insurance and have no pension plan. That in 15 years, I turned 49 yesterday, in 15 years, age 65, most of my classmates will have to keep working because they have got nothing, and the problem is that there's no jobs for them. And our school system still teaches people to be good, do as you're told, look for a nice, safe, secure job. And people say, oh, don't worry, I'm a doctor. What's happening for the very first time is in this thing, professionals feel the heat. It is now spread. Doctors are losing their jobs. Engineers are losing their jobs. CPAs are losing their jobs. MBAs are losing their jobs. It is hemorrhaging it right now at high speed. And they're making less and less money if they take a job. So nobody is safe right now. The other thing that's happening in America, as I said, as you come up, learn from as we go down here, is a thing called virtual corporations. And what a virtual corporation is a company without an employee in it. In America today, we don't want employees because they're not assets, they are liabilities. And the reason for that is if you fire them because they're so desperate, they sue you. And it's funny at one level, but it cost me $12,000 to let somebody go. They weren't worth that much. And that's what's happening right now. So people are saying, we don't want employees, we want temporaries. So they come on, and our schools still don't teach them any financial aptitude. So, I will give you today some rules or some secrets that my Chinese father gave me about how to be rich. And rule number one is this. This is number one. And these made the differences in my life. The biggest secret of all is this. And I think this starts the difference. MC stands for middle class. The poor and the middle class work for money. They go to school so they can find a nice, safe, secure job so they can get paid. And what my Chinese father did was train me completely different. He said, and that's the difference. It is a defining difference. Same as when one father said to me, find a good job or a good company, and the other father says, find a good company to buy. And this will begin to start to make the difference here. I will give you some stats for those of you. How many people remember the DISC from yesterday with, I forgot his name, but anyway. Brian, yes, Brian. This is in 1990. This is the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. At age 65 in 1990, and these are Americans who are the World War II generation. These are the stats for them. This is my father's generation. Out of 100 people at age 65, 1990, 25 are dead. So 1 out of 4 has died. 51, or the gross majority, have incomes of $6,000. And these are people who grew up during the biggest boom years of America, the same as you guys are right now, the biggest boom years. 20 out of 100 have incomes between $6,000 and $35,000. 3 have incomes over $35,000. And only 1 is rich. That is not a very good stat for at one time the richest country in the world. So what I will be doing here is basically giving you the attitude or ideas of this one person. So Rule number 2. This is what Michael's father taught me. The secret of the rich. How many people, mind your own business, how many people know who a gentleman named Ray Kroc was? Okay. For those who do not know, Ray Kroc was a man who founded a company called McDonald's. Now, my good friend Keith Cunningham was in the MBA program at the University of Texas, and Ray Kroc came to speak to the MBA program. And Ray Kroc stood up in front of some of the brightest young minds in the 60s, actually the 70s, and he said to the MBA class, he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, what business am I in?" And all the students just laughed. And what they laughed about, and suddenly somebody raised their hands up, obviously you're in hamburgers. And Ray Kroc says, "No, I am not in the business of hamburgers. My business is real estate." The only reason Ray Kroc created franchises was that so somebody would buy the franchise, but he owned the property. And one of the biggest shortcomings I find with many Americans is that this is the big mistake they make here. This is income. What Ray Kroc was saying was this to the class. He says, "This here is not my business. This is my profession." And so what many people do is when I ask my next door neighbor, the international banker, I said, "What business are you in?" He says, "I'm a banker." That's not his business. That's his profession. And the reason he's having a hard time right now is that what Michael's father taught me was that this is your business. And what he meant by your business, whether you're an employee or not, that has got to be your business. It has got to be your name on it. If you work, I used to work for Xerox. Was Xerox my business? Was it? No. It belonged to the shareholders. And so at a very early age, what I began to do was stack this one. So my profession was sales, the same as Ray Kroc, but my business was real estate. And so I'm just asking you right now is, as you're in these boom years, never forget to take care of your business. Don't mind somebody else's business. You've got to take care of yourself. Does that make sense, you guys here? Hello? Yeah, you've got to take care of yourself. If you don't, nobody else will. Because what's happened in America, and I'm in the stock market, is when IBM announces 80,000 people laid off, does the price of the stock go up or down? Up. That should tell people who are employees something. Now, 2 weeks ago, the stock market plummeted. Why did it plummet? Because they announced employment was going where? Up. And obviously, in the world, there are two different kinds of people. The rich and those who aren't rich. And if you're going to make it, my point of view is this, you may as well make it. Take care of your own business. All of us are employees. Right now, my profession is public speaker, but my business is still what? Real estate. It is my business. And the reason it's my business, it's got my name on it. Today, this belongs to Richard Tan. I work for you and Richard Tan. I am an employee today. We're all employees. But you must mind your own business. So, I will go into what assets are for those, some of you know, some of you don't know, is that there are different kinds of assets. And these are some of the more common ones. Like I said, my favorite is real estate. Others are stocks, bonds, intellectual property. Intellectual property are things like books. Like Andrew was just up here, his book is one of his assets. 1 million copies. It's working for him while he sleeps. Mutual funds and businesses. Now, the thing that my Chinese father said to me is this. He says, there are people who own businesses and people who own a job. And he said the reason when you know you own a job is much like a doctor or an accountant. In other words, they are not free. They must do the work. If you don't have to work, you then own a business. My next door neighbor, what he does is he owns businesses. When I ask him what his profession is, he says, I am a business operator. That's his profession. But his business is business. What he has is he owns 12 car washes. 10 years ago, he was broke. Today, he owns 12 car washes. He takes a paycheck from each one of those car washes of $20,000 a month per car wash. In other words, his income over here is $240,000 US a month, whether he works or not. That's why he gets rich. He's also my neighbor. Interestingly enough, both he and I do not live in big houses. We live in very small houses. The reason is we don't like large liabilities.